Hi, Nancy. Hi, Lori. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Rod. We want to express our condolences for the second time on the passing of dear Esther, whom we loved very much. And I considered her like a sister. She was closer to me than my own sister because Helen, Esther, I, and Arna were very close in age and grew up together, always living next door to each other in New York as well as California. And we had a very wonderful childhood with a lot of creativity and hilarious incidents. You've probably heard some of our early childhood experiences in some of the emails I've written and that Hal has written and that Arna has written. Anyhow, I've known Esther since she was born because I'm 1 year older than her. So I've known her all her childhood life and all her young until we left California in 1979. We were always close. Even as young marrieds, we had a wonderful cousins club together where we took turns hosting each other. I believe the last Saturday night of every month, we got together, and we one time, usually in a restaurant, and then we would go to the host's house, and we would generally not get home till 3 a.m. It was just barrels of fun. We had a great time. One time Esther was the hostess, and instead of choosing a restaurant, she ordered out for Chinese food. And it was delicious, of course. And then when we finished, she provided the Chinese fortune cookies, and we got the most hilarious, side-splitting fortunes you've ever heard of. I only wish I had saved her little papers. Apparently she had typed them all laboriously on tiny little tissue papers and inserted them with an eyebrow tweezer back into the cookies. They looked completely professional, and I just unfortunately can't remember them, but you can imagine, because Esther had the most wonderful sense of humor in her quiet little ladylike way, but she was really funny. So what did I wanted to mention the teen years. We had a few mischievous adventures, Esther and I. One time she came over to my house with 2 good-looking young high school boys from her high school. She went to a different high school, the LA High, and I went to Fairfax High. And she arranged this double date for me with one of the boys. But her idea, very naughty and illegal, was to sneak into the local drive-in, I think it was the Pan Pacific drive-in theater, to sneak in with only 2 tickets instead of 4 tickets. So they placed me, I was sort of chicken. I didn't want to do anything too drastic. They placed me next to my date, who was the driver. I sat in the passenger seat, and we hid Esther on the floor of the back seat with a blanket covering her completely, and her date climbed into the trunk of the car. And there was a very long driveway to go into the drive-in, and on the way, it was nightfall already, and on the way in, of course, we were stopped by an officer with a flashlight who started inspecting the whole car, and very suspicious young officer, and he took his time, and I was sitting looking forward with trying to keep a straight face, and so was my date. But somehow, inevitably, one of us cracked up, either Esther or me. We cracked up laughing, and then it was just laughing till our sides split. And of course, the officer opened the trunk, made the guy come out, and the young officer gave us a very strict lecture, but you could see he was about to burst out laughing himself. And luckily we got off with a strict warning never to do it again, and we drove in and bought 4 tickets, of course. So that was one incident which you may not have known about. I don't know if Esther ever told her daughters. Another one was when my brother Hal was in the U.S. Air Force at age 19, and he came home for an R&R, and I wanted to make a nice party for him in our parents' house, and I arranged a party, and I invited Esther, and she asked me at the time if she could bring her girlfriend, a girlfriend of hers from L.A. high school. And I said, sure, bring her. And she came, and she was gorgeous. It was Vicky Freiberg Netkin, who's very sick right now, and I hope she'll somehow make it. We all pray for her. But anyway, Vicky was lovely with dimples, and she was all of 17 years old. She looked like the Italian actress popular at the time named Gina Lollobrigida. And my brother Hal was in his Air Force uniform, and he took one look at her, and it was love at first sight. And the rest is history. So Esther was responsible for the matchmaking. Whether whether they should thank her or blame her is depending on the point of view of who's involved. But that's how Hal and Vicky met. And we wish Vicky good health, and Hal, who has had coronavirus and is getting better little by little, hopefully. He says it's a very long process. He takes a few steps forward, and and he goes back a few steps. But it's a long, drawn-out thing. However, he's much better now, very thankfully. And then when I just have a few more minutes, I think, to yak. When we were young marrieds, we had wonderful times together. Esther and Rod, Arna and Dick, Israel and I, Hal and Vicky. Helen would occasionally join us, not that often though. So they were part of the Cousins Club too, and we all had a wonderful time. We went on vacations together to Big Bear Lake when we had young children, and even half grown up children. Big Bear Lake, Crestline,